what's current right now? Social distancing, anyone? Anyone else doing that? Yep, me too. God, this is such a weird situation to be in, and I am done with anything relating to the virus. Am I allowed to mention it? I don't know. I just did, so tough. Lockdown, social distancing. What are we, 2 months in? And quite frankly, I'm done with it. I can't watch any more YouTube. I've watched all of the YouTube. I've finished everything on YouTube I've watched. I haven't really, but you get what I mean. So now I'm creating on YouTube. And I guess initially with lockdown and being able to work from home, it was like, great, I get to work from home, get to save money, get to have a lie in each morning, working from home, fantastic. Don't have to deal with the trains anymore. Of course, I'm, not making light of the virus. It's obviously not a great situation, and we've been put in a situation that none of us asked for, and it's it's terrible, quite frankly, and probably the worst thing that we'll face in our lifetime that's impacting the entire world. And it's probably going to change the way we operate going forward. But then, first of all, the novelty of working from home, I'm over it. I'm done. Wasn't built to stay indoors like this. But it has got me thinking in terms of what lessons are we going to learn from this? And that's kind of the way my mind works. I look for the silver lining in absolutely every situation, no matter how terrible it is. What can we learn from this? What lessons can we learn from this? I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because we'll be here forever. Lots of conspiracy theories about how it started. Was it kind of man-made? Was it done intentionally? Or is it just a simple case of kind of a natural cause, like just cross-contamination of disease from one type of mammal into another, and the human body not being able to react to it? I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of the conspiracy theories, but I do wonder how this will change us in the future. So, for instance, there's a lot of businesses out there that may choose to remodel the way in which they operate so they can withstand situations like this. I'm sure there's businesses out there that don't enable flexible working from home. Obviously, that doesn't work for all areas. Like a police officer can't arrest somebody remotely, just not going to work. But there are lots of office-based businesses where people walk into an office space that I'm sure the rent is insane in some areas, especially if you are in a city environment. I'm sure there's lots of businesses still that don't allow people to work from home and still have a one-on-one ratio of desks to employee. And I think this is going to be a real eye-opener in terms of whether or not that can change. I mean, just think about it for a second. If you've got 100 employees and by default you go, right, well, then I need 100 desks, you're going to have to pay for those 100 desks. The rent money is going to be for 100 people. But what if you split that ratio down and you turn it into 60 desks for 100 people and you let 40 people work from home? You're now going to spend far less money on computer space, desk space, and your rental. And, create a culture where people feel a little bit more engaged because they are able to manage their personal life also. So people with children, people may have carer responsibilities. I personally love being able to work from home kind of midweek and just have that day where I can just close the alarm, set it off, and have a bit of a lie in and still be able to log. Some days I'm able to log in earlier than I would on a normal day, but it's that travel to and from work that wears me out the most rather than the work itself. So midweek, having that day where I can just sit at home and not have to deal with bad weather, the trains, just all of that, because that's what wears me out the most. And I think that just gives me a peace of mind and kind of gives me that day in the middle of the week to recharge. And then Thursday, back at it, and I've got the energy and I'm not feeling burnout or anything like that. I think that's something that a lot of businesses will need to consider, just the way in which they operate and having a plan in place where they can withstand a situation like this. Obviously, world pandemics do not happen every single year. It's not something that happens very often, but when it does, your business needs to be able to withstand that, because otherwise you're going to go bust. And unfortunately, that is something that we've been seeing quite a lot of. On a personal note, I really hope that we come to appreciate our frontline staff more than we have previously. Clapping for them is all well and good, but actually that's not going to put food on their table. I definitely 100% think that the NHS has been underfunded. Nurses don't get paid enough for what they have to deal with, and I really hope that people appreciate, really and truly and deeply appreciate what these guys do for us, because I just think it's magnificent, and we have relied so heavily on them during this period. And obviously that's very UK specific. I don't know where you're listening from, but maybe the situation is the same in your country, where certain groups of employment just haven't been respected, and they are the ones that we've relied on during this pandemic. It's a real eye-opener for sure. Something else that I was kind of thinking about also was, can this be the start of us potentially going cashless? In London, some buildings, like big buildings, some of the big corporates, they have cashless systems where they have canteens and things like that inside of their buildings for their employees, but the employees aren't walking around with cash on them. They all just walk around with cards loaded with money, and that's how they pay for things. We all have, well, I mean, we don't all have, majority of us have cards that we can use to make transactions on. Now you've got the touch and go, so you don't even need to put your PIN details in for some of your transactions. Is it maybe time that we just start moving cash out of our system and just go cashless and put everything on the card? Could that be the way forward? Because if you think about it, when you make transactions with cash, how many fingers have been on those coins and those notes? And be honest, when you go to the toilet sometimes, how many people come out of the toilets and leave without washing their hands? I have seen plenty a woman do that. And just think about it for a second. People, not everyone is hygienic. And then you touch the money that these people are touching. And that's just germs moving around left, right, and centre. And if this virus has taught us anything, it's that we cannot stop touching our faces. Your lips, your mouth, your eye bogies, just everything on your skin, on your face. Like, it's just an involuntary action that we all do. Even people in the government who were telling us not to do that were then licking their fingers so they can flip the page from the notes that they were reading. It's just an involuntary action that we all do. And then we go ahead and we touch door handles, and we go ahead and we touch money and things like that. Maybe this is the time to start going cashless and stop the spread of germs. Now, I appreciate right now, in this moment in time, there's still a generation of people who perhaps prefer dealing with cash. That's just the way that they know it, and they might not want to move over to a card. And that's okay. I don't think it's a case of just completely switching off cash and going onto cards. I don't think that's the right way to do it. It needs to be a phased approach. But I do think that's something that needs to be looked into. And if you think about it, I think a lot of illegal activity is usually dealt in cash. I think there's a lot of tax evasion that probably happens via cash transactions. So this could potentially be a way to crack down on crime as well. And obviously people do still kind of hack into people's accounts, and you can't stop that, and strong measures needs to be in place to stop things like that. But I think cashless could be a good way forward.